Hey there, beer tubers. Welcome back to Maxwell Star and Beer Analysis 101 for you. We're back at you tonight with another group review, group analysis. Tonight we're gonna take a look at the classic Belgian. Who's ever heard of Belgian Moon anyway? What the hell is Belgian Moon? I think it's got something to do with Blue Moon in the States, and indeed it does. Blue Moon, of course, is called Belgian Moon up in Canada, but I'll get into that later. Let's take a look at all the fellow beer tubers that we have with us tonight, starting with the first person to my left on my view, probably the first one on your right from yours, which would be the bearded one. And I mean Redbeard. Yeah, Matt, I suppose there's multiple beards here tonight. Hey, Redbeard, how you doing tonight?
Not bad, man. That was the best beer analysis intro that there's ever been. Cheers, man. Yeah.
Thanks.
Awesome.
All right. And we've got, of course, the other beard here. We've got Mr. Massive Beer Reviews. Matt, how you doing tonight?
Oh, I actually thought you were talking about Greg being a beard. No, I'm doing pretty good. Life is great. I'm in the middle of nowhere. Got this hooked up last second, but I'm kind of pumped. I think this will be a fun one.
Yeah, cool. And we're, of course, glad you're here. Next up, we've got Chris on the 10th. How are you tonight, sir?
Hi.
Moving along to the next one, we've got Greg. How are you doing tonight, Greg?
I'm suddenly addicted to watching plastic surgeries on YouTube, and also I want a Brazilian butt lift.
Okay, we need to move on. And Mr. Ashley Sexton, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very difficult. We're very professional. It's very hard to follow up Brazilian butt waxing or butt lifting or whatever that was. All right, moving right along. Let's go into the history of the beer, and you guys can open up your beer and start drinking now because this is a long one. I'm surprised at how long this is for such a young brewery.
People are always surprised how long it is.
Shut up, Greg. You professional. Anyway, so the story of Blue Moon, oddly enough, Blue Moon begins in 1992 with the construction of Coors Field in downtown Denver, Colorado, the then future home of the Colorado Rockies baseball franchise. During construction, they restored the 1913. I missed the sentence. The Coors Brewing Company had purchased the naming rights for the new stadium from its onset. During construction, they restored the 1913 Bankers Warehouse along Blake Street and incorporated it into the design of Coors Field. In the warehouse, Coors built an experimental craft brewery and brew pub into the basement and first floor, which would become the Sandlot Brewery, which opened in 1995 with Coors Field. The Sandlot Brewery opened with baseball-themed beers such as Squeeze Play Wheat, Power Alley ESB, Slugger Stout, Right Field Red, and Bellyside Belgian Wheat. Bellyside Belgian Wheat was created by brewer Keith Villa, quickly became Sandlot's top seller. Given the high demand for Bellyside, they knew that they needed to come up with a name for the beer to have a life outside the stadium. As the story goes, during one night of tasting beers, Villa's administrative assistant said, you got the backing from Coors, you got this great beer, the craft beer movement is just starting, and an opportunity like this comes around once in a blue moon. And the name stuck. Success was not immediate, however, as consumers were not used to the cloudy style of beer. Sales of Blue Moon were low, and Coors attempted to peel it off the beer more than once. But persistent Villa managed to keep the beer alive. Inspired by Mexican beers like Corona being served with a little lime, Keith hit on the idea of serving the beer with a slice of orange. In 1997, Villa convinced Coors to release the corporate memo instructing bartenders to garnish the beer with a slice of orange. However, at the time, bars weren't known for stocking fresh fruit, an issue that Villa himself would address by personally delivering a bag of fresh oranges and a cutting board and a knife to new accounts and instructing them how to slice an orange to look like a moon. Oh boy. Sales remained flat, however, through 1999, but by 2001, sales were growing rapidly. By 2003, Coors was reporting 25% year-on-year growth. By 2017, Blue Moon has grown to become America's 11th best-selling beer, just ahead of Yuengling. Now, here's the fun part. Where's the Belgian Moon thing come from? Well, Blue Moon's production had expanded in 2007, and the brand attempted to enter the Canadian market. However, its entry into this market was troublesome as the Blue Moon brand was not trademarked in the Canadian market until 2006. They should have done sooner. And when it was trademarked, it was not trademarked by Molson or Coors. A company named 2008474 Ontario, otherwise known as Toronto's Amsterdam Brewing Co., trademarked Blue Moon in Canada, as well as the brands Firestone and Fat Tire. As a result, Blue Moon was instead introduced to Canada by Molson under their Rickards branding as Rickards White.
Of course it was Amsterdam. Of course it was.
Of course it was Amsterdam.
Wow.
But by 2011, Miller Coors had managed to register the trademark from Amsterdam and secured it in 2013. So, yeah, there's more to the story about why it's called Blue Belgian Moon here. However, Miller Coors at the time was an American joint venture between Sab Miller and Molson Coors, and the trademark was not exclusively owned by Molson Coors. Due to an ongoing lawsuit between Miller and Molson over a product distribution deal that had been in progress before the trademark was filed, Miller therefore owns a part of the Blue Moon trademark, and because of infighting with Molson, it left Molson Coors unable to use the trademark in Canada due to a puddle of their own making. Blue Moon would go on to be introduced as Belgian Moon in Canada in 2015. So a whole lot of legal bullshit is the reason why this is called Belgian Moon, and it's not actually Amsterdam's fault. So in 2016, Sab Miller merged with AB InBev and spun its interest in Miller Coors and the Miller brands off to Molson Coors, making Miller Coors a wholly owned subsidiary. And so I'd imagine renaming Belgian Moon to Blue Moon in Canada is only a matter of time, but it's still kind of funny to think about, and they kind of fucked it up themselves. Anyway, Blue Moon currently has a small line of beers, but has made several special releases over the years. The current lineup is Blue Moon Belgian Wheat, Blue Moon Mango Wheat, Blue Moon Cinnamon Horchata Ale. Never heard of it. They've also had too many to mention special releases. To name a few that I've reviewed over 6 years ago that I've had are Pale Moon, which was later renamed Rounder Pale Ale before being discontinued, the Spiced Amber Ale, and Winter Abbey Ale. So what is Blue Moon? Blue Moon Belgian Wheat is a 5.4% Belgian-style Witbier made in the same style as Hoegaarden, Shock Top, and several others. Blue Moon is brewed with wheat, pale malt, oats, Valencia orange peel from California. Right on. Now, that was a long spiel, and I'm sorry I'm bored people to death with that interesting story of legal bullshit, but let's get down to the comments to see if there's anybody talking. Who wants to do the comment reading today and not Greg? Chris?
Okay.
No, not me. We're gonna let's let Redbeard read the comments today.
Redbeard, you want to read the comments?
Sure, man. Why not?
Go for it.
All right. Started out with Beer Patrol. Joe saying, have a good show, everyone. Couldn't make it. Matt's all we need when it comes to Americans. At least someone has the Blue Moon version. Lee wants to be entertained. Raining on your parade. Got a 12-ounce bottle of Blue Moon. Don't remember what he paid. Guess it was $8.99 a six-pack. Molson Street had a Mission Street Wheat Ale, $6.99 Trader Joe's. Something to compare Blue Moon to. Joe loved the intro from Chris when he came in there. That was an interesting thing. Rod J's in here. Blue Moon saw me standing alone without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. Look at him go.
Blue Moon.
And then Blue Moon, you know just what I was there for. I think he's just going all out there.
Jesus.
He's had the horchata as well, and part of the variety pack usually. Joe, what a great history. Good job. Still 8 minutes of your life you won't get back. kind of like Joe's reviews. So, and yeah. Ooh, there we go.
There you go. And Roger says, did Greg get demoted from reading comments? And I replied, yeah, he's on probation.
You got caught by the Beer Patrol.
Fun. If you want me back to read comments, protest next channel.
Greg reading comments is like Farva making coffee. Anyway, moving right along, let's go to personal histories with this beer. We'll go to Redbeard.
I have actually never had this before.
Really?
Ever. No, it's a Belgian beer, and it's one of those like kind of not really crafty beers. So it's always been like in the back of my mind for my daily drink vlog. If I ever get to the point where I'm like running out of beer and I need some, this is on the macro side, with that whole side of the LCBO I can go over and keep me going for like another month kind of thing. So I've never had it before.
Nice.
So yeah, good stuff.
Well, first time for everything.
Indeed.
Matt, what's your history with Blue Moon? Now that you're the only one here with the actual Blue Moon.
Honestly, I think like anybody that's been into craft beer, especially in the United States, has a history with the beer because it's been around for so long. And like if you've been into craft beer and you've guided people into craft beer, whether it be friends or family or people that are interested, the attainable wheat beer is the beer that you steer them to, whether it be your Hoegaarden, your Blue Moon, or something like your St. Bernardus Wit or something like that. And it's super approachable. It's super drinkable in that sense, to where somebody who's coming from the macro side of things, they can get into it pretty easily. So that's what it rings to me as a beer that I've had in the past, but it's also a beer I've used to kind of bridge the gap from macro beers to, you know what I mean, craft beer. So that's kind of where it lies for me.
Gateway beer.
Pretty much.
Moving on to Chris. What's your history with Blue Moon? Or remember, this is also known as Rickards White.
Yeah, I know. I had this beer a long time ago. I got my new phone and my Untapped. I can't remember my login now. I can't go back and check whether I've untapped this or not. But I do remember having this. The first time I ever had this was way back when Rickards White was on tap at my local bar, or whatever, Niagara Falls. And they always, they served it with an orange slice, and I was like, all right, I'm game. I'll try it, and it wasn't bad. That was my history.
Nice. Greg, what's your history? You're muted.
I know, and I've just unmuted myself. Well, Nick, this is a very, very special beer to me because this is the beer that actually got me into beer.
Really?
Before this, I was all about the girly drinks. I like, whatever, or my gin and tonics or whatever I wanted to order at the bar, but I never ordered beer because I didn't like beer. And then somebody got me to try this beer, and this is way before I think I tried any craft beer. Maybe I tried a Creemore or something, which I think was craft at the time. But yeah, I tried this. I'm like, oh, this is good. I really like this. And suddenly, every time I went out for chicken wings, this made a good combination with it. And yeah, and that's how I got into beer. And then slowly but surely, I tried other things. And yeah, I still enjoy this every now and then. It's still not a bad beer, even though it's. I'll get into it later. I don't quite think it's a wheat beer, but yeah.
Nice. And Ash.
I've had this both as the Blue Moon and as the Rickards White. I actually rated them on Untapped pretty much similarly. I can talk about that later. This is a beer that I recognize as being in pretty much every type of restaurant in the area that's a franchise-style restaurant across the GTA. You can go in there and pretty much any chained restaurant is going to have one of these on tap, either the Rickards White or the Belgian Moon. I remember having it on Christmas of 2016. Not the best Christmas present. However, so I don't have much of a history. I know that my wife likes it quite a bit. And that's about all I got.
Cool story, bro.
Good job.
Cool, bro.
Yep. My personal history with Belgian Moon is that I've had it as Rickards White, I've had it as Blue Moon, and I've had it as what do you call it? Belgian Moon right here. By 3 different names. And you know what? The first time I ever had Blue Moon, I thought it was actually a different beer, but I'll get into that in a second. Rickards White, for me, dates back to around the first couple of years, like 2009, I think, was when I first started experimenting with what?
No, not you. No, it's something different. I'm laughing at
all right, cool. God damn it. All right. Rickards White was one of the first craft beers that I got into when I was getting into craft beer around 2008, 2009. And I remember it was one of my oldest reviews on my channel. And it was actually like whenever I bought one of the Rickards, like Rickards Tasters Pack back in those days was actually something that I would get on a regular basis and actually drink. And the Rickards Whites, I always found them pretty smooth and easy to drink. As far as the Blue Moon goes, the first time I ever brought one of those back was in December 2011, I think it was. I went over to Calais for a Christmas shopping trip, and I bought a Tasters Pack, like a Blue Moon Tasters Pack that had like 4 different beers in it. And I remember there was always something about Blue Moon I always thought tasted a bit more syrupy, like corn syrupy, and just a bit different than Rickards White is. But now that I have the Belgian Moon, well, I'll get into that in a bit. I have had this before since it came out, and I've been meaning to review it. So I guess it's the closest thing I'll get to it. So moving along, let's go back to the comments and see if we've got anything new. And holy crap, do we ever? Who wants to do the reading? That's, of course, Redbeard again.
Yeah, a couple people were talking. Joe went on with Greg should be demoted from this beer analysis to not being on it. Lee, fuck no, Greg. I'd rather come back and read comments before letting you. Raw J, not seeing any orange slices on them glasses. Andrew Watts, yeah, that's what it actually. That is actually what it says on the cans. They recommend putting it an orange slice. Joe agrees with Matt as far as the gateway beer. I also agree with that. It's as far as Belgian style beers goes, definitely. Rajay prefers other ones than this to the style, but it is a good gateway one. Beer Patrol just checked Untapped for Chris. He drank it on March 28th of this year, gave it a 3.5 out of 5, said it was better than Rickards Red. Not the same style, but there you go.
Oh boy.
Rating on Your Parade, tasting real good, a little bit better than you remembered. Back in the day, would have went to Shock Top over this, but who knows now. Rajay, I rarely buy it now, I guess, unless I get some crazy deal, which never happens. Joe, same here. Find the regular price better than Shop Top. Rod J, definitely better. Not a fan of this. Andrew, not a fan of this. Guys want a wheat beer. Muskoka Summer Vice Tropical Wheat. This version is actually pretty good. Lee is not a fan of the orange slices. Rod J never rated Blue Moon higher than a 3.5 out of 5, and that was their pumpkin beer. And that is it.
There we go.
All right.
So let's. Is anybody ready to give their opinions?
Well, what else are we gonna do?
Their own opinions
Go.
and scores. All right, Redbeard, what's your thoughts?
I actually think it's pretty decent. Like usually the Belgian style has that yeasty flavor that I find really kind of off-putting myself, but this is just kind of. It's almost like a Hefeweizen or something. On my palate. Like I'm almost getting like that banana kind of, but there's a bit of an orange. It's decent. Like as far as my overall enjoyment, I'd probably give this like a 7.5 or something. It's completely drinkable. And as far as the style, I don't know. I'd go maybe like a 6 because it doesn't seem all that wheat beery to me.
So we have an overall 7 or 7.5?
7.5.
Okay. And style 6. All right, Matt, you're up.
I left work and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I saw that you guys were doing it, so I'm like, I'll pop off at a local place and I'll pick one up. And I popped in. The only thing I could find was the 6-pack. I wanted to buy a single, but I was like, fine, I'll buy a 6-pack. And I get here and I open it up now. Way better than I remember. I was kind of pissed off. I had to buy a whole 6-pack, but I'm okay with it now. Actually, it tastes way better than I remember it being. I don't think it's a Belgian wheat beer. I don't think it is a German wheat beer. I get no banana. I don't get any kind of those typical kind of Belgian kind of yeasty esters or any of that stuff. What I do is get a kind of more beefed up American version of a wheat beer. It's creamy. It's nice. There's a nice sweetness to it, but it's not overly sweet. I get the whole kind of orange peel thing when they're talking about wanting to impart orange in it, because then that's what you're doing. What you typically get from a lot of your wheat beers is that natural orange from like the yeast and whatnot. You're not getting it there, but I also see that they probably wanted to do that to make it a bit more elevated when the beer originally came out, to make it a bit more fancier, where like uppity people didn't want to drink beer and they go, oh, you put an orange slice in it and it makes it fancier. But as far as me, I don't mind it at all. I'm actually enjoying it, and it's not too bad. As far as what do I do rating wise? It's what I rate
style than overall.
Style wise, I'd give it like a 6.5 out of 10, and personal, I'd probably give it a same thing, 6.5 out of 10. It's way better than I thought it would be. I just don't think it's a Belgian wheat beer. That's why I'm not giving it a better score as far as rating its style.
There you go.
Right on. And Chris, what's up with you, man?
Well, it's a good thing I'm going before Greg, because I'm going to say that this is a good gateway beer into the craft, kind of changing off the macro and getting into different flavors of beers instead of drinking all a bunch of corn syrup. Sorry, Greg, I jumped ahead of you there. This is super easy to drink. I like the little orange flavor that you get out of this beer. There's a little bit of orange pissiness at the end. It dries you out a little bit. One thing that I'm really disappointed at is that the fact that I don't taste any bleach whatsoever in this beer. I thought for sure I would, but apparently they're not putting bleach in this wheat beer, so we're good, and I'm going to live. So for me, on style on this one, I'm going to stay in the sixes on this. So I'm going to go 6.5 out of 10 on the style, and overall, I quite enjoy this. Actually, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. Thank you.
Right on. Now for Greg's opinion.
Copy and paste Chris's response. Oh, it's, again, the big thing is it's not really what you'd consider a wheat beer. It doesn't have the traditional sort of flavors to it, which is funny because it took me a while to wrap my head around what a German wheat beer was after having this for so long, because the German wheat beer didn't taste right to me, and now it's flipped over. To me, it's like a flavored wheat beer. Like the orange is really there. It's really strong, and frankly, this does go pretty well with an orange. Like, they don't lie to you about that. So, I don't know. For style, what are you rating it on? Like, am I rating it against the traditional wheat beer? Not gonna do so hot, but I'll give it like
rated based on a wit beer, like Hoegaarden or something.
I'll give it like a 5. I'd say it's passable, but just barely for the style. But overall enjoyment, it's pretty good. I'll give it a 7.5. It still actually holds up pretty well. And if I'm in a situation where I can't get something better, it's quite enjoyable. It's quite refreshing. You can knock it back, and it's relatively cheap, so that's nice. And if you give it an orange, why not? Bump it up to a 7.75 just to make Chris's math harder.
Right on. Ash, what's your thoughts?
So, with a lot of people that have gone already, I'd have to agree. Very easy to drink, super smooth. It has that very approachable flavor to it that a lot of macro drinkers can go try something different and not be completely offended. Now that I've drank most of mine, it's really warmed up a little bit. From the nose, I'm getting a lot of like artificial like orange flavors. It smells more like a C+ or an Orange Crush. It has that like really heavily sweetened aroma to it. And again, I'm getting like a stickiness on the back of the palate that's not really. It makes me want to drink this really fast because I don't want to take a lot of time in between sips because I'm getting like a stickiness on the back of the palate that's not overly enjoyable. You know what I mean? But what this is really missing for me as a wheat beer is it doesn't have any coriander notes to it. It doesn't have any of that spiciness. It's very one note, and that one note is just sweetness. So for my ratings on style, I'm gonna have to give this a 5.5. But for personal enjoyment, because if I were to pop this out of the fridge, super cold, throw it into a glass, shove it down my throat, I'd probably enjoy it a lot better. So I'd have to give it a 6.5 for personal enjoyment.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I kind of second that, where it's kind of there's no spices to it. There's no there's hardly any clove. There's no coriander to it whatsoever. Like the spices you typically associate with a Belgian or Belgian beer in general are just missing from this, and it's kind of coming across as it's almost like this stuff has kind of graduated away from Belgian wheat beer to like a North American wheat beer or something. Anyway, the flavors that I got predominantly off of this one, of course, orange, but I find the orange is a bit sweeter kind of orange than a tangier, zesty orange that you would get in a Belgian one. There's banana, there's bubblegum, At the finish, I'm getting this big toasted corn, like toasted wheat is what I noticed, and a little bit of corn flavor in there. It is Coors after all. But the biggest thing I noticed about this is it's coming off as it's a little thick, and it's also flat. Like there's hardly any carbonation. Like when you pour it into the glass, it's a big explosion of head like you would normally get out of a wheat beer. And then when you're drinking it, it's just like thick and syrupy almost. And just like you said, it's a bit sticky. And it's really, you kind of have to hork it down. But overall, I find it is also very smooth, and it is easy to drink in that respect. And I do like it. I don't have much left. I mean, as far as Belgian wit beers go, I mean, that's one of my favorite styles. I would definitely go with something else over this if I had the choice. But if I was handed this, I wouldn't complain. Overall, I think I'm going to give it 6.5 out of the style. And that's also going to be my my personal preference too, 6.5. Just because I enjoy it, I'm drinking it, but there's a lot of other wit beers I would drink before this, like Hoegaarden or. And you know what? I used to think I liked Rickards White better than this, but I didn't really have many complaints about Rickards White, but that was back when I had a baby palate. Anyway, do we have any comments there?
There's a few more.
Right.
Apparently, the real issue here is that Greg drank a blueberry version of DR IPA from Kunin and gave it a 2.5 out of 5 on Untapped. Fuck that guy. That's from Joe.
Could have sworn that was going to be Ewart one.
But it's pretty shitty beer.
Rod J, my own opinion, owned and trademarked by on the 10th. Cease and desist letters will be sent. And Joe asking if Matt's going to pop off a proper review of Blue Moon. Have you reviewed it yet? Probably not, I would assume.
I wouldn't be opposed to doing it, but most likely not.
Yeah. Lee says that it's not crafty enough. Not crafty enough to source the free-range bleach. Andrew Watts says, ice beer, guys. Come on, he keeps asking. I'm assuming that's what he wants us to review next or something.
We can all get something. Well, maybe not next, but I mean, well, if we can all get the same ice beer, maybe.
I've never even seen an ice beer before. Joe says, would you guys say this? Would you guys say this would pair with some more of your mild cheeses, baby? Maybe a non-smoked Gouda or some Munster? And actually,
Havarti or something.
Rod J actually keeping it real. He likes it. Lee, if one was to drop this into strictly the North American wheat beer style, it actually is probably one of the best he's ever had because that style is generally bland as fuck.
That's true.
Rod J, Bell's Winter White is much better. Never had that. Joe, you still have a baby palate. Nick, hashtag baby palate.
Fuck you, Joe.
Rod J likes like to try the one from Hitachino. And Lee says, take your word for it, Rod. My exposure to North American wheat beers has been not good. And that is it.
Nice.
That's it, that's all, baby.
In part of the tough, baby, I'm thinking of all the better wheat beers that I've had in my past. And one of the ones that comes to mind is like Blanche de Chamblay or even the original Hoegaarden, which the whole town actually revolted against ABM for trying to change the recipe on that one. And like Allagash wheat, I think it was, or white.
Allagash white is so good, man. Yeah. That's a fantastic fucking beer.
Even St. Bernardus wit, I think, was pretty good.
That's one of my favorite, actually. I mean, Blanche de Chambly is fantastic. You named all fantastic beers. You know what I mean? But they also are, I believe, almost every single one of those beers are bottle conditioned, whereas this one is not. There's a little bit of sediment in here, but I don't believe it's bottle conditioning. I think it's just kind of yeast drop off. Do you know what I mean? So you're talking about a beer that it's actually going to be, those other beers that you mentioned are going to be beers that kind of stay and kind of last.
Like Belgian Moon, it's clear what they were trying to go for when they made this beer, and it's clear what kind of beer this style is descended from. But those other ones, they do it a whole lot better than this thing does.
I forget who said it. I think a couple of people that said it was better than drinking your kind of corn syrup stuff. Not to defend Miller Coors or anybody, but they're still using an authentic grain bill at least and making a legit beer here. They're not actually using kind of corn adjunct and stuff like that with this beer. So you're taking a company that does those things, but still is doing it. Again, not defending it, but hey, they're still making it the way it should be.
Yeah, there's probably still corn added in the form of high fructose corn syrup, and because imagine it's sugar fortified, they wouldn't say that in a grain bill. But yeah, it's nice that they actually used what did I say was in it? They used a few oats for smoothness and pale
white
malt.
wheat, and pate. But I don't think there's high fructose corn syrup in here.
Yeah.
No, I mean I did almost have to put it on here, I believe. And honestly, it's high fructose corn syrup. I don't even think that's yeast digestible. I don't think it is. It just comes off as residual sweetness.
Oh.
Not that this wasn't syrupy or sweet, but I don't think it was that crazy.
I don't know. I'm just thinking like usually they'll fortify with a little bit of sugar, and that's a common source in the States. Anyway, moving right along.
Guess what?
What? What's that, Chris?
I got some scores, baby.
Don't you want me to present you so you can do some scores, baby?
Yeah, you can present me. I'm ready. Am I being presented?
Well, give me the stupid control. There you go.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have. I put Blue Moon on there because it's got to stay original, right? All right, our final scores. Here we go. In drum roll, please. No drum roll necessary. There they are. For style, we gave it a 6.00 even. And for overall enjoyment, we went with a 6.92. Overall. So this is just passable, ladies and gentlemen. Just over passable. So we're good.
Just barely passable, baby.
Just barely, baby. That's it. That's our scores.
Alrighty. Sweet. Thanks for putting that on, Chris. This scores were brought to you by Chris on the 10th Photography.
Did you guys read what it said there at the bottom on that one?
Oh, what did it say at the bottom?
This one says there is no party room. No party room.
There's no hot tub? No, there is a hot tub.
Yeah.
No, there's definitely a hot tub, just no
party room. Yeah, that's what
party room's actually become a giant hot tub.
Anyway, yeah, let's move right along to any final comments, any final thoughts.
A couple more comments came in here. What the hell was this? Andrew wants to know what's next week's beer. Joe is good stuff. Wednesday night, Baby Doll, Nikita Koloff, and Dusty Rhodes in a strap match. Allagash White is fucking so tasty. That's Joe again. Allagash good. Roger agreeing. Roger then saying Harpoon UFO is also a wit beer. And then Joe says GD Allagash is great. Love most of their stuff. And then Harpoon UFO can also fuck right off. Sorry, Rod.
Facts.
Raining on your parade. He loves White Ale Grand Cru. Roger says not too far from Matt is Dogfish Head, and they have a Namaste White, I guess. And Rod, no love for Harpoon. Joe, not really, Rod. And then Raining on your parade, also wanting to know about next week's beer. Joe, good show, fellas, except for Greg, piece of trash. Lee Russell agreeing, and Roger also saying nice show, guys.
All right, so to introduce, since we got a few people actually asking this week, and I didn't have to post it myself in the chat this time. Next week's beer, we're going right back to the Maritimes to Nova Scotia, where we're going to take a look at Garrison's Juicy Double IPA. And I really hope that some people in Ontario can still get it, and hopefully Lee can get it.
I have never seen that before.
You should. It should be
check your LCBOs. You should be able to find it. Juicy Double IPA from Garrison, which is in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Place I've been multiple times.
Lisa says
Garrison, not. Yeah, if he wants to come, sure. He'll actually join this week. Exactly.
He was here last week though, so we can't put that.
Anyway, all right. So let's move right along to. I guess that's it.
Yeah,
we're moving right along to that.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to move on to the after chat. Anyway, we'll be doing an after chat in a few moments. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching tonight. We actually I'm looking right now. We got 10 people watching this crap right now. So thanks for popping by, and thanks for having a beer with us. And we'll be on shortly. Thanks for everybody coming on the panel. Thanks, Redbeard. Thanks, Matt, especially for coming on tonight, because it's nice to see you again, man. I got Chris, Greg, and Ash.
Beer Patrol. Watch my show, The Beer Patrol. See you later.
All right. Anyway.
Cheers.
Right. Cheers. We'll talk to you folks later. Cheers.
Cheers.
Penis?
Penis.